Now, Lieutenant Baird, begin with the last time we saw each other.
Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Gears of War Judgment Insane Difficulty video walkthrough. We're going to be doing all the declassified missions and getting all the stars. This is the Section 4 North entrance. So the mission in this one is to, when you take damage it impairs your vision, which if you've played Perfect Dark, just like getting punched. Not a problem actually, because you're waiting for your cog to regenerate anyway, so in the time it takes for it to regenerate, you're probably going to get your vision back. This is an interesting one. I completely forgot which way they spawned, so I'm firing down there thinking that door's going to go through, and they're actually across the balcony. So this is a defensive one, but it's one of the easiest defensive ones in the game, because they all have to come up the stairs to my left. So feasibly, you can just camp your ass off and just take them out. It's really not too bad. It is slightly long though, there's a lot of dudes. I had an issue across the balcony with 2 Lancer grubs. They were just being assholes the entire time, just lancing me. And the Lancer does a lot of damage, so you need to address it, you can't just take it. And there's a turret here which is going to be useful, make sure you keep it stocked. There's a mulcher there which you can use. This bit's really not that bad at all, and you should be okay with it. So I'm going to address some other things, because when I've been reading on some forums and just some various threads about a lot of hate that this game is getting, and it's completely unwarranted. You know, people are saying that it's ruined the franchise. People are saying that it's completely different to the other Gears, when it isn't. You know, it isn't. You know, people, if you watch the videos of this game, it does look different. It does. There are certain aspects of it that just look weird, but when you play it, it's Gears. You know, and one thing that pisses me off more than any reviewer who gives a game a silly review are people who criticise games they haven't played. And don't get me wrong, everybody is entitled to have that opinion or that impression of a game, but don't shit on something, you know, defiantly. Don't, you know, give it this definite title when you haven't played it, because it's bullshit. You know, you've got to play a game to be able to judge it properly. And I'm not the person who thinks you have to play everything. I'm just tending to Chris Eubank for no real reason. I don't think you have to play every aspect of a game to be able to comment. I just think you have to have had it in your hands and played it for a decent amount of time. It doesn't matter if it's multiplayer, it doesn't matter if whatever it is, just have played it. Because that's long enough to not be a hypocrite. You know, you've given the game a chance. You haven't just wrote it off because it doesn't look like the thing that you thought it was. Like, this game to me is closer to Gears of War 1 than Gears of War 3 is. Because what they've done is they've taken away a lot of the stranger implementations that Epic did in the third game, and they've redefined it down to what made the first one good. There are certain things I don't agree with. There are certain mechanical changes that I don't agree with. But as far as the gameplay and the stuff that you do in this game, this is every bit a Gears of War as every other Gears has been. And if you are to say that it's not, you're a fucking idiot. Because it's not true. The multiplayer is different. That I will let people pass a heavy judgment on the multiplayer, because everybody's telling me that it feels different. You know, the guns don't work the same. This is different. That is different. No down but not out. That might be very different, but the single player is every bit Gears as any of the other ones have been. Like, the first thing I noticed on this game is you do not get any reticle bloom on the sniper rifle. That was something they put in Gears of War 3. This game doesn't have it. Do you know what other games didn't have it? Gears of War 1 and 2. The sniper is effectively the same as it was in the old games. You know, they've done a lot of interesting choices to certain things, and it modifies it, and it modifies it in a similar way that God of War Ascension did. You know, it was the same mechanics, just done slightly differently and done slightly worse in some elements, which is completely subjective. But the counter in God of War Ascension, they changed how it worked. Some people liked it, some people didn't. The grab moves, they changed how that worked. It's the exact same here. Grenades work differently, weapon swapping works differently, but everything else is the same. Everything else is just a refinement on the previous thing. Like, I don't know how anybody can call this of lower quality than the other games. You know, Because to me, if you're calling this lower quality, you're an idiot. You don't know how games work. Gears of War 3 had a really long development cycle with all the budget and all the creative staff of the people that designed the Unreal Engine. You know, they had all the money in the world from Microsoft to make this big epic conclusion to the game. This game has had every adversity thrown at it, every single one you can imagine. Half the fucking Epic team who were supporting it left. You know, Cliffy B handing off the title to People Can Fly so that they can make their rendition of a Gears game. Then he left. So this has been on the backs of People Can Fly development team, and they've done a fantastic job. All considered, you know, they had a smaller dev cycle. They had probably less budget because, you know, there's barely anything in this game. The one real criticism that you can put towards this game is the fact it's tiny. You know, there's 4 multiplayer maps. How the fuck does that work? There's like 2 multiplayer modes. I think there's 3 actually. You know, they got rid of Horde. Why? Why would you get rid of the most iconic part of Gears? It makes no sense at all, you know. Horde, to some people, is better than multiplayer. I don't get that. You know, you make a small but very challenging campaign, which I really enjoyed, but at the same time, it's short. It's very short. And the second campaign is even shorter, so it's really strange. And it brings me back to the same thing that I say with a lot of the shit that this game is getting. People are criticising it for the wrong reasons. People are criticising it ignorantly, and it really annoys me. And don't get me wrong, this is not saying that you cannot dislike this game. If you dislike this game, that is fine. But give it a fucking chance and judge it on its merits. You know, you can't judge it for things that's not its fault. It's not its fault Cliffy B didn't make this game. It's not its fault that Epic didn't give it the full support they would have if this was, you know, the title that the sequel to Gears of War 3. And if this had come out as DLC, add-on to Gears of War 3, no one would have batted an eyelid, everybody would have said it was amazing, but it didn't, because game industry nowadays is all about making money, it's all about pushing out titles, it's all about annualization of franchises, and that's exactly what they're doing. I think it's a bad thing fundamentally, but that does not make this a bad game, and for all the people saying that this is lower quality, it's just not true. It isn't true. And for those people, I say play the fucking game, because you obviously haven't.